good evening to our fellow night owls. The Ball is Round gang is finally back together, and it couldn't be better timing. Tonight, we break down Montreal's first home playoff win since 2016, preview the Eastern Conference semifinal, look back at the women's offensive show against Morocco, and so much more on episode 104 of The Ball is Round. Hello, gentlemen. It's all three of us tonight.
Yeah, it's been a while, huh?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Welcome back, Sam.
Yeah, thanks.
From
Thanks.
Seychelles.
Yeah.
Did you have a nice vacation?
Yeah, I loved it. It was good. I didn't really want to come back, but here I am. So I guess we'll go back into podcasting and stuff. But I'm happy to see you guys, though.
Likewise. Happy to see you, and of course, happy to see you as well, Hady. Did you have a good day after that emotional night last night?
It was a long day because I arrived home maybe at 1 a.m.
Oh,
so,
God.
After the press conference and everything, and then I had to go do to buy some milk for my son that didn't have milk anymore.
No.
So I was like, man, it's 1 a.m. I have to go sleep,
Oh my gosh.
It was nice.
Well, yeah. Eventually, yes. You got to go to sleep for sure. Alrighty, so let's jump right on in, guys, because as always, we have a super packed show ahead of us. So let's start off talking about last night's match. So this was a momentous occasion for the full house crowd at Stade Saputo. The last time that Montreal had hosted a playoff match, Hady and Drogba were writing the headlines, but it was Matteo Mancosu whose lone goal sealed a first leg win over New York Red Bulls. And just to be clear, when I say last time hosted, I meant last time at Stade Saputo. Times have changed since then, haven't they, guys?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Well, the title goes for this, and because in these, I remember that goal by Mancosu. It was a pass by Marco Donadel. So we had like two kind of journeyman European players in Montreal. Yesterday, Koné scored, Mihailovic scored, two up and comers. So that goes with the philosophy of the club, right?
Definitely, a lot has changed since then. I feel like I've lived like six lifetimes as a supporter in between, but nonetheless, whether it sticks out, whether when you think of Orlando, what sticks out to you is the 2019 Hady injury, last year's decision day result. I think we can all agree that you'd be pretty hard pressed to find a Montreal supporter who didn't feel like an extra edge going into the match against this specific opponent. And go ahead, Hady.
Yeah, it's funny because you talked about the Nacho Hady injury, and I loved the fact that the collective sang Nacho Hyady's song during the game. I'm not sure. I'm pretty sure that it was when Ruan, I think was fouled or something, or it was nice. I liked it.
Yeah, exactly.
Long memories here.
We have long memories in Montreal for sure. And actually, speaking of, and we're going to talk about it later, but Kamal Miller had actually expressed he had his own feelings about Orlando City and how his time there had ended. So it wasn't just the supporters. There were definitely also plenty of players who had kind of a little bit of a chip on their shoulder. So before the match started, what kind of feeling did you guys have around, the build up to the match? How were you feeling going into this one? Do you want to start, Hady?
Oh, no, I'll let Sam start because we did talk about it a bit.
This is true.
Last week, so I didn't hear Sam. So
I was a bit nervous, to be honest, because I was thinking of Orlando have a lot of playoffs experience. They've been through these games and they know like the dark arts to win these kind of games. And I was a bit wary of our very young team and experienced, and compounded by the fact that we were placed in the situation that we were the favorites to win, and by a good margin. If you looked at the betting odds were so, I think it was 4-1 for Montreal, and it was maybe 1.25 for Orlando, which is massive, So And there's another thing, and I know some people will disagree, but there's a fact that you kind of get comfortable in mediocrity sometimes. And I was wondering if Montreal would be able to not get into that kind of mental slump of, you know what, yet last year some people were happy with that eighth position, but now we're second and we're looking at the cup. It's such a discrepancy in mentality. So I had all of this in mind, and I was thinking, man, it's the perfect storm for us to lose. But no, I was happy to be wrong, really happy to be wrong.
Sounds like one of your co-hosts might have rubbed off on you a little bit.
Oh, really?
No comment. Anyway, yeah, but Hady, I know you and I did talk about it, but like, the night before the game, were you still feeling confident? I think when we had done Montreal will win and lose, you were like, Montreal will win. And you still felt the same?
Oh yeah, exactly. It's so weird because I was in the metro going to the stadium, and I don't remember at which station the door opens and Tristan d'Amour shows up, and a friend of the show, of course, Tristan. So we were talking and everything, and I was like, man, I don't see Montreal losing. He's like, yeah, you have to be careful, and you never know. I'm like, Tristan, I just don't. I can't. Like it's gonna be very difficult for Montreal to lose, and you know what? We'll talk about it a bit later. I shouldn't be that confident ever again. But
thank you. Yes, indeed. No, but you wound up being right at the end of the day. So there you go.
Exactly. Yeah, that's. I should talk with like Eve. I was right.
There you go. That's my favorite.
I was right. I was right. We won 2-0. I was right.
There you go. Feels good, doesn't it?
Yeah, it does.
Yeah. All right, so let's turn back. Wilfried Nancy, he lined up a very familiar starting 11, same formation that we've gotten accustomed to over the past several matches. So the starting 11 for last night was James Pantemis, Lassi Lapalainen, Kamal Miller, Rudy Camacho, Joel Waterman, Alistair Johnston, Victor Wanyama, Sam Piet, Georgi Mihailovic, Ismail Koné, and Kai Kamara. Following his recent injury, something that I think we had all been keeping an eye on was the fact that Ramel Kyoto returned to the bench. So Sam, you've been out for a few weeks. So did you have any thoughts on the lineup after your absence?
Yeah, I was kind of thinking that, I was thinking like, okay, if Kyoto is ready to play, he's ready to start, he's gonna start. So I had a lineup in my head, but it's kind of what I thought would happen. Koné in, and now you're playing one forward, and I don't think that's the best formation for Montreal. That's not what suits the team the best. But it was kind of no choice for Nancy, because Mason Toy has been struggling so bad recently that I didn't see him start the game. So he was kind of stuck at starting Kamara up front on his own. So what was interesting is that, you could kind of expect that Mihailovic would be man-marked very tightly or double-teamed. So having Koné close to him could have maybe been that kind of outlet for that man-marking. So that was interesting. But apart from Koné, coming in, I think there's no surprise with that lineup, really.
Fair enough. But I think, Hady, and I know you and I had talked a little bit about it. Sam said he doesn't necessarily think it's the best lineup for Montreal, but I mean, it was a really good lineup for Montreal last week against Inter Miami. So for me, I saw this and I was like, oh, it's not broke, don't fix it. It works just fine. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. It was a 3-4-3, and it worked last time around. I think that they found a way to make it work. At one point during the season, we had Torres maybe in the 3-4-3. It doesn't work that much now with Koné and Mihailovic playing on the wings, but most of the time finding themselves in the middle and in the middle of the pitch.
Yeah, they tuck in a lot.
It's a narrow 3-4-3 in a way. So no, you know what? I wasn't surprised at all. I was surprised to see Kyoto on the bench, to be honest. But in my head, it was you know what? I'm pretty sure that Nancy will only put him in just in case he's losing.
Last resort.
That's a desperate move. Yeah, it's a desperate move. Exactly.
Yeah. So, although it was Montreal's home to defend last night, obviously they were obligated to come out on the front foot. And Sam, you kind of alluded to this earlier. Orlando, they showed up with their own special tactical herbs and spices in mind. And I'm not necessarily talking about passing sequences or defensive or man marking. I'm talking about those dark arts that you mentioned. So how would you guys describe the disruptive, the physical first half showing that the opponent brought last night? Who went? All right, Sam, go ahead.
I kind of think that was Orlando's best shot anyway, so it was natural that they went towards that, because Montreal, thrives on momentum, and Orlando did very well. Well, it depends if you're fond of these arts or not, but they did in factually do very well to break Montreal's momentum, and you saw a lot of Montreal players getting frustrated and really falling into Orlando's game plan. So yeah, I think they did kind of well in what they wanted to do, and I think they understood that was their fair shot at beating us. So now you can debate on if it's morally a good way to go, but I think they did what they thought they had to do. So it wasn't great for us.
I'm not here for it.
Nah.
No, I don't know. Hady, how are you feeling about those goal kicks from Pedro Gallese in the 15th minute?
That's not the way soccer should be played.
It's not the beautiful game, certainly.
Definitely.
And you know what? There's a 6-second rule, and why is it not applied?
But it's so rarely applied, though, eh?
The thing is, with the rule
at one point, I understand. Sorry, I understand that. It's not applied to the letter, right? I understand that it's 6 seconds. Okay, you know what? We make it 10 or we make it 12. Okay, you know what? I agree with that. But sometimes it's 20, 25, 30 seconds. And I was and everybody was booing, and the referee was just looking at everybody and like, what's going on? And I'm at the end of the day, giving a yellow card would maybe change things and send a message, exactly, because that's not normal, because during the whole game that's what happened, because he never, even as you said, he was unmoved during the whole game, and that's not normal. And I think that the referee and even the league should address that, should tell the referees, you know what, at one point you need to take a decision and you need to follow the law. The soccer laws, right?
Yeah. Well, usually, they have, and I think we talked about this a little bit when Dave Gantari come to visit. They have their kind of annual meeting every year. And it's sort of, what are we going to quote unquote emphasize, I guess, in our refereeing? So, maybe that is food for thought for next year.
Yeah,
how do you I don't know. I don't know if you've got somebody's mailing address or email address you can send it to PRO.
Yeah.
But nonetheless.
No, I don't have. I would love to have. Is it still Howard Webb?
No, he's gone. He's gone back to England.
Yeah.
Oh, really? Okay. Yeah. Who is it now?
I'm not sure.
I don't know, man.
Okay. I'm not sure.
Nobody famous, I don't think.
No.
Or infamous, however you choose to interpret it. Alrighty. So moving back to the match. In the 18th minute, we had our first incident, but not our last. The stands absolutely erupted because Ismail Koné, as he received the ball from, I believe it was Georgi Mihailovic, but it might have been Sam Piet, I forget. He was dribbling into the 6-yard box, and there was a physical contact between him and Ruan. But indeed, Ismail Elfath, MLS referee of the year, recently crowned, was completely unmoved, and VAR also was disinterested in the penalty call. Hady, what do you think? Penalty or no penalty for Koné?
You know what? This call it's a gray zone, right?
Okay.
For me, it wasn't 100% a penalty. It wasn't 100% not a penalty. It could have gone either way, and I was a bit more leaning to a non-penalty, so I wasn't really surprised that it wasn't called. Even when I look at the replay, I'm lucky enough, in the press box, we are able to watch the replays on TV Sport. So I was watching the replay and I was like, yeah, no, I understand why he didn't call it. So no, for me it wasn't a penalty on this instance.
Okay, fair enough. Sam?
I think it was a good call, and just bear in mind that Ismail Elfat has to set a standard, and if he gives that penalty, he might have to give 5 or 6 in the game afterwards. So it's kind of a tough spot for him. But there's one thing, Ruan was wrong side of Koné, and when you engage in a physical challenge, when you're wrong side of the player, you're giving the
risk.
opportunity, to the ref to make a decision. But Elfat kind of put his standards out, so if you're a Montreal defender, seeing that, that you have a bit more leeway when defending afterwards. So that's maybe the silver lining of it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but you know what? A lot of people were saying shoulder to shoulder. No, it was shoulder to back. So shoulder to back usually is called a penalty. Sometimes it's not. So that's why the gray zone, but it wasn't shoulder to shoulder at all. So so yeah.
Interesting. So yes, definitely still, I think at least a little bit contentious.
I just want to say, Eve, we have a lot of questions during that already were asked.
Boy.
I'm just gonna wait. I'm just gonna wait whenever it's time that we answer those questions.
Okay.
So keep on asking, guys. It's just that right now maybe it's not the moment to answer on those specific subjects. I'll make sure to put them on whenever it's the right time.
Yeah, sounds good. And if anything topical does come up, like just throw it in there, and I'll figure it out. I'll figure it out.
Perfect.
All right, awesome. So, speaking though of other instances of a controversy, obviously Lassi Lapalainen, I think, was super involved in the first half. He was really, really active both offensively and defensively. Notably, I think probably his most spectacular action was maybe in the 41st minute, because he made a 40-yard sprint way back into his own 18-yard box to make a defensive recovery and block a shot from an opponent. So that was pretty heroic. And I know, Wilfred Nancy has talked a lot about Lassi's sprints, and my God, was that ever one. But nonetheless, it was actually just a few minutes later, the moment that I want to discuss. In the 45th minute, yet again, we had an incident almost in exactly the same spot as the Koné incident. Lassi had received a pass from Saint-Piet and dribbled into the 18-yard box. There were two defenders. One of them, he sat down. The second defender, however, Cesar Arujo, there we go, stuck his foot out. Lassi's leg made contact with it. Lassi went to ground, and the defender was furious with him. He was bent over him, screaming into his ear, as Ismail Elfat was well placed, and he also came over and told Lassi nothing doing, as the boos absolutely rained down. I believe VAR did give it a quick check, and they confirmed no penalty. However, on the replays, guys, I gotta say, I was really surprised by this one. Sam?
Yeah, that was because Lassi never goes down, right? But we know him more than Elfat will know him. But when I saw Lassi face plant, I said that's for sure is a penalty, and I wasn't even mad, because I said, okay, might have missed it, but VAR will pick it up, and we're gonna get a penalty.
Mm-hmm.
So when VAR checked it and decided not to give anything, that was a bit surprised, because if you look at that play, Lassi, once he's past Arujo, he has a shot on goal, so he has no reason to go down. He's on his preferred right foot. He's got the goal in front of him. All he has to do is shoot. That's exactly the positions that he looks for to get his shots off. Mm-hmm. So Lassi had no reason to go down for no reason. I think that was more a penalty than
I can already see Hady's face. Are you disagreeing or are you agreeing?
No, I'm agreeing that it was a penalty. So I don't think that Lassi went down on purpose. Like I don't even think that it was exaggerated. I think he was just fouled.
Yeah.
And so it's not like, because a lot of people were like, yeah, but Lassi shouldn't have gone down. Like the guy was just fouled,
Well, there was like a leg in the way of his stride.
Exactly. And I don't understand why this play wasn't reviewed by VAR. Like,
well, I mean, like the gentleman running VAR last night, he would have looked, and then tried to decide if he should get LFF to go over and do a sideline review.
listen, I watched a game a few hours before,
Mhm.
and I have a feeling that sometimes the VAR referees, they just sleep through the game.
Oh no.
Like it's not normal. Sometimes some calls were like, man, like we're looking at it, we have the
Yeah.
same angles that you have,
Mhm.
and we can't understand why you're not calling anything. You know, I
Yeah.
understand that you don't want the game to be prolonged too much and to stretch. But at one point, this tool is here just to correct any mistake.
Mhm.
So if there is a mistake, you should use this tool. It's as simple as that.
One would think.
So for me, this was a penalty. No questions about it.
But
Yeah.
what I dislike of VAR, and I kind of had the confirmation that's how referee use it, because when Dave Gantar came, he kind of talked about it, right? He said that VAR is like the angel on the shoulder, that if something, if you're not sure, if something happens, you can always go back and check. But the thing is, now the refs are waiting to be 100% sure to blow the whistle on the pitch, because otherwise it's okay, there's VAR. But you'll never be 100% sure,
Well, it's
because
still
it's such.
humans operating it.
Exactly. So now I have the feeling that you need to literally take someone's leg off to get a straight call for a penalty. So if they don't blow the whistle now, VAR, the way you're supposed to use it is clear and obvious mistake. So how can you prove that then you made a clear and obvious mistake? It's like a contradiction in the way sometimes referees use it. I think I don't want to criticize referees, because I know how tough it is, that job, but I'm just not sure that the way VAR is used these days is the way they wanted it to be used when they implemented it. So,
Well, I mean, if you think about how long, soccer as a whole has been around, VAR is very, 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 very new, in the whole of the history. So obviously we are living through its infancy. So we are going to be living through some of those challenges as they kind of calibrate, how they use it when they implement it, and kind of like what their tolerance threshold is for quote unquote clear and obvious. So I think, unfortunately, this is just part of us living through the using VAR, on a regular basis. I think it's something that will probably, hopefully, get better as time goes on.
yeah.
You know
Fingers
what?
crossed.
It's funny because Strasbourg Steve says feels like every league's refs are really struggling to make correct decisions, and it's true. It's everywhere. It's just not normal how, like, at one point, if the federations are not able to find a common ground and to make it usable the same way in all countries, isn't it the job of FIFA to really come and say, you know what, guys? No, this is the way you should use it. All federations wise, maybe do a small, a big reunion of the head of referees of each country, and just explain. Go ahead, look at 50 different situations and just show them how to use it, because at one point everybody's really messed up with how to use VAR, and that's not normal. It's a tool that's supposed to facilitate the job of referees. So at one point it has to be used the right way. And what is the right way? Someone has to be able to say, this is the way we use it. And fans have to understand it, referees have to understand it, coaches have to understand it, and so on and so on.
Okay, well, fans are still always going to think it's wrong if the call doesn't go their team's way. Just, I'm pretty sure, no matter how fine-tuned they get it, I'm pretty sure fans will still have some salty feelings. But I agree with you on the rest of it. But anyway, we are certainly unanimous about the Lassie penalty incident.
Yeah,
excellent.
Yeah.
So one thing I wanted to ask you guys about was I noticed, particularly because I was, down at that end, there were 3 really, really good opportunities for Orlando in the first half. They had one in the 24th minute. I'm really sorry. I completely forgot to mark down what minute the second one was. And the third was in stoppage time with some, and it was always in roughly the same area of the pitch. It was on the right-hand side of that defense that, generally Joel Waterman, along with the help of Alistair Johnston, would be responsible for. Maybe Victor Wanyama or Sam Piet coming back to help as well. So, Montreal got really lucky because all three times that basically, an Orlando player was staring into the eyes of James Pantemis, the shot was completely off target, like quite off target. So what do you think was up with that defensively last night in the first half, guys?
It's I'm not really sure what happened, but I felt like Alistair Johnston was playing too far up. I felt that, at one point maybe he didn't identify the threats, and the fact that Orlando was trying to play his side most of the time. We didn't see much on the left-hand side, so it was mostly on his side. And also I have a feeling also that that Georgi Mihailovic was playing so centrally that even the fullback on the other side, so the Angulo, had so much space to work with, that a combination of those two, the space given to Angulo and the fact that Alistair Johnston was out of position most of the time, created those chances. And I think that's something Joel Waterman tried his best to really.
Yeah.
To
really I'm not saying like he did anything wrong necessarily.
I know. He wasn't. I'm not going to say he wasn't at fault at all, because he was supposed to maybe call back Alistair and say, you know what, man, I need you a bit more, I need you to help me a bit more, or maybe talk to Georgie and say, hey, Georgie, man, Angulo, just, try to cover him. Don't give him the space that you're giving him, right? So, so I think that's the reason why we saw so many chances, but thank God, not even one was on target. We're just lucky, I think, on this assist.
Yeah, but there's on the first chance, the Kara chance, it was almost a copy paste of what Miami tried against us often. Yeah. It was to kind of decoy on Waterman and drag him into midfield and use that space that was open. And Waterman, I'm not sure if he's asked to go that deep or he gets caught like kind of staring into the player and losing his positions. With the systems and the tactics these days, it's really tough to say, is it the coach who asks something or is it the player, taking initiative? So I don't want to throw the rock at Waterman necessarily, but it's something that we've seen often this season. Now, if it's a pattern and, Waterman's going to get there, Camacho has to compensate a bit on the right, because every time that's happened, Camacho is planted right down the middle of the pitch and has not drifted out to kind of transform it into a more of a flat back four, like if Camacho becomes kind of a right center back while Waterman is caught in midfield, and that we've not seen, and that's why Kara got that breakaway. So that's something I think Montreal has to keep an eye on, because teams have kind of used that kind of a few times against us, and they've had opportunities. On the other chances, I think it's kind of the defense falling asleep. In the 45th minute, it was Antonio Carlos, the defender, got a glorious opportunity. That was just center backs kind of sleeping, and it happens. It will happen, and we were lucky, but it's not the greatest moment to fall asleep just before.
It was a late game, guys. I completely understand them,
and I think it would have been called back for offside. Like it was very close to being offside. So sure. I'm not sure. I didn't watch the replays.
No, I didn't watch it extensively.
It was pretty close to being offside. So either on the line or just slightly offside. So.
Yeah, exactly. So we went into halftime following that final chance, which may or may not have been offside. Probably was, but nonetheless. And neither team had placed a single shot on target, despite those three chances that we broke down for Orlando. And Montreal had a few, I'll call them 2/3 chances as well. going into halftime, no shots on target, etc., etc. Hady, how were you feeling?
We dominated that game. I thought that yes, we had those three chances, those counter attacks that were a bit worrying, but
Mm-hmm.
I was pretty sure that Nancy would find the way to stop this from happening because tactically
Mm-hmm.
Nancy is very astute. He's very good. Um, so I wasn't really worried. I was happy that we were a bit lucky to not
Mm-hmm.
concede. But I was pretty sure we were going to have a better second half.
Mm-hmm.
Again, I was still confident that we would win. I'm not sure why, and
I
I
don't
don't
know. You should have
maybe I
gone out and bought a
got
lottery
off
ticket
the
or
clock,
something
you
because you
know?
just had your feelings.
Yeah, exactly. It's very weird, but no, I was
Mm-hmm.
very happy. I was very confident. Sorry, that we
Mm-hmm.
were going to win.
Awesome. Cool. Sam, what about you?
I don't know, man. I there was kind of some instances in the first half that I think our midfield kind of was caught between two minds often, and there was a lot of space open to Orlando, between Wanyama and Piet. There was like a 10, 12 minutes that Orlando was really having a lot of success attacking through them. So I think that maybe needed a bit of an adjustment, maybe
Yeah,
drop Koné a bit deeper
yeah,
defensively when we didn't have the ball. Maybe, let that press down a bit and just, accept a
Mm-hmm.
bit of pressure, but close down that midfield. And one thing I was hoping is that Nasi was getting heated. He got a bit of a confrontation with Oscar Pereira close to the end of the first
Yes.
half.
Yeah, during that non-call for the
Yeah,
penalty. Yeah.
yeah, exactly. Players were getting heated, but that's exactly what Orlando were looking for. So we were
Mm-hmm.
100% playing into what they wanted. So I was hoping that Nasi would go into the dressing room and kind of take a deep breath and let the emotions go and bring
Yeah.
his player down, the temper down. And guys, this is not what we came here to do. You
Yeah.
knew Orlando was going to do that. We knew it 1 week in advance it was going to be like
Mm-hmm.
this. Now let's go back to how we play. Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
I think that's what happened because second half was much better.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I agree. And I know, Hattie, when you and I talked about it last week, I think that
yeah,
was something that I had specifically called out was like, you can't let Orlando do the mind games.
Mm.
yeah,
They got us once this season, and that was enough. Thank you.
yeah.
Yeah.
It's just I just want to add on what Sam said. It's funny because at the presser, Nancy explained what he asked of Georgi Mihailovic at halftime, and he asked him to play more centrally,
Okay.
just to add that extra body in the middle of the
Mm-hmm.
pitch.
Okay.
So it was very interesting because we saw the difference. We needed those extra bodies in the middle, and Nasi saw it too. And that's what I like about this coach. We had him here on the show, and
Mm-hmm.
and we said, I think Sam said at one point, we haven't had uh, we haven't talked about tactics that much since Wilfried Nancy became
Yeah.
coach. He made tactics. He made tactics evolve in the
Mm-hmm.
Montreal soccer scene, and that's awesome to see a coach that's able to read all that.
Mm-hmm.
I love it.
Yep. Yep. Join the club, and it usually pays off for him,
True.
Yeah,
which is what we like most.
yeah. Hopefully the MLS will see it too.
We dun dun dun. All right. So it's the second half. So the second half, obviously, it started pretty similarly, although I would say that play did begin to open up a little bit more after the 55th minute. Orlando was starting to venture forth into Montreal's territory a little bit more. Obviously, at some point, they were going to have to, right? But in the 53rd minute, there was an interesting incident because Kamal Miller went in with a very physical, sliding but legal tackle. He did win the ball, but he completely cleaned out Ruan. And I think that's the moment, I think that might have been the moment where they did the chant Hady. And anyway, this tackle, it was really physical. It was really intense, and he was obviously feeling it after, and as well, it caused a little bit of a skirmish with some pushing and shoving between the two teams. So, Hady, when you saw Miller commit to that tackle, what kind of vibe did that give you?
Oh shit. You know what? It's funny because was it 2 weeks ago, Eve, that he made a similar tackle, and we were like, I wasn't sure that it was a yellow card, and then it was, because I wasn't sure it was a foul. It was the beginning. Was it last week? It was the beginning of the game, and he got a yellow card.
Miami.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So I got the exact same feeling, but this time I was like, oh man, did he touch the player? And I was really, really afraid, because I think that at that moment during the game, the referee would have given a red card right away.
Yeah, really,
because the
of
intensity.
The force, like that he went, the speed and everything.
Yeah, and you know, he went directly with his studs up.
He did.
And you know, thank God he got all ball. Thank God he got all ball, because or else it would have been a red card. But at the same time, when you get it right, you give so much energy to your team. And you know, I'm really curious to hear Sam, because you know, he's a former defender, and I think that as a defender, you thrive on these tackles, right?
Yeah, if you know how to do them. Yeah, no, you definitely, you know, for these guys are old school, Miller, Waterman, Camacho, they play that kind of old school defending, and you know, they definitely thrive on that. You see the commitment, and Miller, how proud he is to get these tackles in. So, you know, there's always a message in these tackles, right? And you know, there's no, you know, it's not a coincidence he went so hard on Rouen at that moment of the game. You know, there was something that Miller was trying to do doing that,
like sending a message, kind of
to his team, to Orlando. You know, Orlando were trying to intimidate Montreal. Kamal, I think, didn't want to show that anything that Orlando was doing was affecting them, and you know, you need a bit of that dog in your players sometimes, and these are the players that, you know, Olivier Renard were looking for these moments, these playoff moments. Well, that transpires after, because I mean, it's so important to have this attitude at that particular moment of the game, because you know, it was maybe 60th minute. These are crucial moments in games. You know, that's often where games will switch, is in that between 60 to 70 minutes, and you know, it's important. I think it's not much in the big spectrum of the game, but it's winning in individual battles at key moments that bring you so far, you know.
Agree. Now let's get on to the good stuff. In the 68th minute, finally, Montreal had had a really long sequence of possession. Actually, it was like basically two really long sequences of possession in a row, broken up by one quick interception. But anyway, this particular sequence, it had 18 consecutive passes made between Montreal players, and the sequence wound up with Joel Waterman passing the ball to Kai Kamara. Kai Kamara was back to goal at the top of the 18-yard box. He laid the ball off to Georgi Mihailovic, who passed to Koné, as Koné was in the middle of drifting between the two center backs, who were pretty widely spaced out from each other. And for 20-year-old Koné, in his first professional season, in his first MLS playoff match, it was a very cool, composed slot past the goalkeeper. First off, we were all at different spots in the stadium. Hady, you were in the press box. Sam, you were in 125.
125.
Yes. And I was down in 127. How did the stadium sound to you after that goal winning, guys?
I don't know, man. I was screaming so loud.
Hady, what was it like from the press box to hear it? Because I know you're meant to be very quiet in the press box, so you must have gotten the full benefit.
You know, listen. I'm very lucky. I think I haven't been sitting in the press box for, I think, since the month of April. I'm sitting in front of the press box, but outside. Right. So I'm able to cheer. So like, I'm kind of cheating, you know? I'm not the only one, right? There's a few journalists that sit outside too. By the way, just a parenthesis here. we were a lot of journalists. I think it's the first time that I've seen so many journalists at a soccer game. Like, it's
Hopefully
not
they'll be there in
normal.
2 years if we're last, eh?
They won't.
No,
You
no.
know that, right? So
That's it. That's it.
sorry, but it was crazy how
Wow.
many people there were
Like
as
Quebec?
journalists.
Or
Like, it's crazy. No, I know. Yeah, mostly were Quebecers,
okay.
but you had a few from MLS also.
Oh, that's to be expected for sure.
Yeah, exactly. But it was crazy because usually you have like a couple of seats between you and the other journalist. Now we were all squished, like one seat next to the other, and it was very weird. So yeah, to come back to your question, like, the stadium completely erupted. And it's nice because, where I'm sitting, I'm the last row just in front of the press box. So you're able to see the whole the whole stadium all together, right? And everybody chanting, cheering, screaming. It was, yes, the sound was loud, but I think that visually it was beautiful to see everybody like jumping all around, and Koné's celebration was so
passionate,
but also like true. Like you feel that it wasn't he wasn't like playing a game, or he wasn't. I don't know. It was very, very pure in a way.
Okay. Yeah. No, I certainly don't disagree with you at all. And I'm glad it sounded as good as it felt being in the middle of all that.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. But anyway, like these sequences, these really long passing buildups of like 10 plus passes to lead up to a goal, this kind of become a little bit of a habit for Montreal this season. So what's that say to you, Sam?
It says that, there's one thing with Wilfried Nassi's tactics is that he always forces the opposition team to adjust to him. And that's what's interesting because, I think we're probably playing maybe top 3, top 5, the more, worked on, like in most thought of tactics, not playing a 4-4-2, 4-2-3-1, very classic. There's a lot of movement, there's involvement very deep from center backs. There's a lot of permutations. So I think what happens is that now you're forcing teams sometimes to adjust, and they're gonna react by just dropping very deep. And you saw Orlando when they did kind of say, we won't get caught in these midfield triangles of passes will drop. Now you can get the passing going. And we were worried of this a few weeks ago. We would talk about going into playoffs playing against a bus. It wasn't exactly a park bus, but it was not far from it sometimes, and we were able to pass our way through it. And that's what we were worried about. And I'm happy that probably they worked on it recently going into the playoffs in practice, but it speaks that they're always working to get better tactically and kind of prepare for what opposition can can throw at them, and they were definitely prepared last night. So it was good.
Yeah, right on. Glad. So following the goal, Orlando, they obviously then wound up dominating possession, and they really had to try and press for an equalizer. And it was kind of the first time of the match that we saw them, really throwing it all forward, which obviously goes without explaining, but nonetheless, this is far from the first time this season that Montreal's had to defend a narrow lead going into, say, the last 15 minutes or so of a match. But with so much on the line, I got to ask, were either of you nervous? Hady?
After scoring the goal? Like,
yeah.
No, not at all. Like Orlando didn't
get...
I'm
so sorry. You didn't have a nervous feeling at all yesterday. I'm sorry.
But at that point, I was even less nervous because Orlando didn't have a sniff of the ball in the second half.
Yeah. No.
They didn't produce anything. They didn't. They weren't at all.
They never put a shot on target.
Exactly. So the first half, maybe, if it was the same in the second half, I would have been a bit worried. But they missed their chances. They missed 3 clear chances. So I was even more confident.
Wow.
Like, you missed 3 golden chances. Like, of course you're gonna lose the game.
True.
Like, for me, it was obvious, you know.
Fair enough.
And
Okay.
and you look at the game of Lassi Lapalainen, and you're like, man, this guy's on fire.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you know, when you see someone play such a great game, for me, he's the man of the match, by the way.
Mm-hmm.
Like, how can you lose when you have someone that's really flying that high and playing so well? And who played a bad game yesterday? Is there a player that you can say that didn't play well?
No.
I can't think of anyone. Like, you
exactly.
know, we can say, like, you know, there might have been miscommunications here and there, like we talked about for, you know, those chances that Orlando had, but you know, overall, I mean, you leave with a clean sheet and the opponent didn't put a shot on target. It's hard to say somebody had a bad game. Yeah. So Montreal was going to be given a cherry on the top of their Sunday night in stoppage time. Mihailovic wound up being fouled by João Moutinho on the edge of the 18-yard box. And lo and behold, Hady, we don't know if VAR was asleep or awake, but we finally found out for sure come stoppage time. It was initially judged by referee Ismail Elfaf to be a free kick, but VAR awoke and it called him to the sideline monitor. After consulting the monitor, it was changed to a penalty. So, Hady, could you have, after the injustice of the earlier call, could you have asked for a better ending to the match?
No, that was a good ending. But you know what? I have a feeling that the VAR referees and even no, okay, let me start back. I have a feeling that if the Elfaf was sure that it was in the box, he wouldn't have called it.
I know.
That's the
I
first
felt
thing.
the same way, man.
And the second thing is, I'm pretty sure that the VAR people looked at it and were like, hey, I think we messed up on the Lassi penalty, because for me, it was a foul. It was still a gray zone. Like, I wouldn't have been surprised if that wasn't called. So, but the Lassi one, I'm still in shock. So I have a feeling that it was
like a makeup call?
Yeah, a makeup call in a way.
Okay. Well, at least we knew that they were there. At least we knew.
Yeah, exactly. At least they woke up. Exactly.
There you go.
But they were preparing to go eat before going to sleep, and they're like, okay, when is it gonna end? And they're like, people are. Yeah.
Oh my gosh, guys, the league's gonna come. The league's gonna come for us. We're gonna be quiet. Yeah, but nonetheless, obviously it was an awesome night. Mihailovic converted his penalty. You know, this is one of his final matches as a Montreal player, and it was good to see him score at home and continue along that good run of form after 1 goal, 1 assist in the previous match. The same in this match. So, as we've talked about a lot, you need to have your top players in good form going into these important matches, and I think it was perfect for him. So, anything else to say on the match overall before we move on to the pressers and some of our questions?
No, it was a great night at Saputo. It was awesome, and I think we needed it. You know, I just, you know, before the game, I was thinking, and whatever, you know, I was a bit nervous of what Orlando would bring us. You know, just soak it in. You know, it's gonna be a great night. It's something that we've been waiting for so long, and it's been tough since our last playoff appearance in Montreal, on and off the pitch. So it was a great night. I think we deserved it as fans. You know, for all we put up with in the last years. So it was good. It was good. And everyone at Stade Saputo, I'm sure, had an awesome night. Even those at home, you know, were watching on their TV. Everyone had a great night.
Yeah, I have a few comments here that you can start with. I have nothing else to add, by the way, if you want to.
Okay. Did you have anything to add about the pressers?
Oh, yeah, for sure. But before the pressers, do you want to talk about the small questions?
Absolutely.
So
I'm sure they're not small. I'm sure they're excellent.
So first of all, it says Strasbourg Steve. Most of the questions are from Strasbourg Steve.
Okay.
So the first one is the next match at the Stade Olympique against New York City FC, because New York City FC won 3-0 against Inter Miami. No, it's at Stade Saputo. All the games until even the MLS Cup final would be at the Stade Saputo. So that was confirmed. So no Stade Olympique
They'll
at
be
all
thinking they're
this
playing
year.
at home at a baseball field again. So no, let's play at a soccer field this time.
Yeah.
Exactly. And there's two other comments that I think would be nice to comment on. The first one is Georgi Mihailovic, the gift that keeps on giving. What a player!
Mhm.
I have just one thing to say on Georgie. He didn't have a good game, but what great players do is that even when they don't have a good game, they still find a way to be decisive. And that's
Mhm.
exactly what he did. He was
Mhm.
decisive on both goals, getting the foul on the second and giving that assist on the first. And that's what you need from these clutch players, these star players, these DPs, right? And Georgi Mihailovic filled that role so well.
But I think, you have to bear in mind, and I've seen people criticizing Georgie, but if you look at the game closely, João Moutinho didn't really have a position. His position
No.
was to follow Georgie wherever he went.
Yeah. Yeah.
So just
It
imagine.
was like a Matias Almeida style.
Yeah, completely. It was like a man-to-man, as man-to-man as you can do defensively. So, no, Georgie, maybe you struggled a bit because João Moutinho is no slouch either. He's a good
Mhm.
defender, and he's following him everywhere on the pitch, but he's opened up space. Koné had a lot of space to work. Piet had a lot of space to work. Camara had a lot of space to work, but it's due in part Georgi Mihailovic moving with the man on it, because when you're marked man to man, right? It takes 5 minutes, you figure it out. Players
Yeah.
following you everywhere. Now, if you're smart, you're able to use that in your advantage too. So to bring the player in positions that maybe he doesn't really want to go, and open up
Mhm.
spaces for your own players. And Mihailovic did that well, but I think he wasn't given a lot of credit for doing so yesterday. So didn't have a great game, but I think there's circumstances around why he didn't appear to have a great game, because I think he did well yesterday under these
Yeah, he
circumstances.
did. He did.
Mhm.
And the last comment before the other question, Piet's improvement on the ball is stunning. Whole team is great and very comfortable with the ball at their feet. Uh,
Yep.
Eve, what do you
Yep.
think about that?
I completely agree. Piet has brought it up such like so many other levels. We kind of saw like the nascent stages of it when Thierry Henry was coach, and kind of shoved him out of position and really kind of threw him into the deep end of that pool. But this year, it really has he really has evolved a lot in his role. And I think that's a large part of why we aren't so concerned about the departure of Victor Wanyama. Because we've seen that Piet has a lot of other dimensions to his game that really, until this season, I don't think we could confidently say that that he could be relied on for it. So yeah, I'm all there for it.
Yeah, I
Oh,
agree.
Piet, for me, was the man of the match yesterday. He was
Mm-hmm.
everywhere. Defensively, offensively, he was
He had a very
nasty
good
when he
game.
needed to. He was
Yeah,
good. He was very good, and
I had to manage all those moments with the Orlando
yeah,
players.
yeah,
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
yeah, excellent.
Next question. Do you think Nancy could be the next
Oh my
Bologna,
God,
man?
I had not thought about that.
Hell no, man.
I
Why
mean, gee.
not? Why not, Sam?
I don't know, man. I just can't imagine it. But if you ask me for a legitimate answer, I don't have one. I just don't see it happening. So
Mm,
I don't know. It just makes no sense to me. I think maybe maybe Nasi, if he wants to eventually go to Europe, maybe could happen. But why would he go to Bologna and not wait for an offer elsewhere?
mm,
Because
yeah.
there's not a lot of teams that would choose an MLS
Oh, I'm not
coach.
sure about that. No.
Jesse
There's
Marsh.
not a
Jesse
lot.
Marsh is doing an all right job of paving the way.
Yeah, but Jesse Marsh.
Patrick Vieira as well. But obviously, Patrick Vieira has a legendary playing career behind him,
Exactly. So
with a
that's
certain
that's a bit different.
reputation.
And Jesse March, it was within the Red Bull consortium,
This
right?
is true. Now he's outside of Red Bulls, though.
Yeah, but still, he made the move from MLS
Okay,
to
fair enough.
you know
Yeah.
because of the
Okay.
consortium. So it's
Hmm.
kind of the same thing as Nancy, right?
Okay. Okay.
Like,
Okay.
right? So it's funny because you don't really see that. The only one that you really saw do that
Hmm.
is Bob Bradley.
Hmm.
But that's it.
Hmm.
So I don't
Yeah.
know. I like the question because
Yep. I hadn't thought about it.
Yeah, me neither. It's not so far fetched, and in a way, it reminds me of I don't know if you guys watch Any Given Sunday, the football movie. At the I don't want to spoil it to anyone, but
It's okay. I'll just take out my ears.
but it's an old movie. It's a very old movie.
Okay.
Like if you haven't watched it yet, I don't know when you're gonna watch it. So
this is true. No, it's okay, Hady. I give you full permission.
So Al Pacino at the end, he's not renewed. His contract is not renewed. So he goes. He announces that he's not going to be here. So he announces where he's everybody's telling him goodbye at his press conference. He announces that he's going with the star quarterback directly to a new franchise completely. And I have a feeling that are we going to see Nancy take Wanyama and go to Bologna?
Oh my God.
No, but you know what? How do you sell Wilfred Nancy to Bologna fans? I think they'd be panicking at the start. So it's they're probably looking for a European name, established.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah,
but,
I'm inclined to agree. Yeah.
So that's it for the questions that we have during the live show.
Wonderful. For now.
Good question.
Yeah, for now. And if there are more, by all means, we'll talk about them when they come. So, Hady, back to your role last night. You attended the post-match press conferences. So I guess we'll start off with Wilfred Nancy. Of course, you did already mention something earlier, but beyond Georgie moving centrally, was there anything of note that he said?
He talked about the referee, saying that there was a lot of situations, and he specifically talked about Lassie's situation, saying that he thought that it should have been called.
Mm-hmm.
It's very weird because he talked a lot about how they prepared for that game. He said we prepared for Orlando, and he said that they prepared a lot on 11 against 10 situations and 10 against 11 situations, which is
that does not surprise me.
Exactly, which is very interesting. So that's something else. And then he talked a bit about the adjustments. I talked about the tactical adjustments from the second half with Georgie playing centrally, but he also said that they needed to move the ball quickly and be a lot quicker with the ball, which they did. And I think that's one of the main reasons why they were able to be successful in the second half. And then talking about, shots on target, he said, that doesn't interest me. Yeah. What interests me is how we able to attack the penalty area. That's what we need to focus on, the way we attack the penalty area. And he said, I would like to see a bit more players within the box.
Yes. And you know what? Now that you mentioned that, I was having that feeling last night, before the first goal, especially, there would be somebody, say, 5 or 10 yards, I guess, outside the 18-yard box on one side or the other, but there was nobody. They were like right along the top of the box. And I was like, just get in there.
Exactly.
Well, that's the system with one striker, eh?
Yeah.
Because when Camara drops off to help more of the attacking midfielders, there's no one in the box. So that's why I'm not too fond of that tactical system, because if Kyoto drops, Camara is in there when you play with two. But now, I understand what he says. So his comments kind of suggest that next week
we might have a change.
Two strikers.
Oh yeah, for sure. And we're playing against New York City FC. Like, there's we need all
the firepower we can get.
Yeah, exactly. And he also added because he was asked about Ismail Koné, because everybody thought he was man of the match. Even he was named man of the match on the Videotron man of the match. And he said, Koné is an amazing player, and but he's still a young player. So sometimes we have to give him a few, a hit on the head or something like that. And everybody started laughing. He's like, but today he played very well offensively and defensively. But still, he's still a young player. They're still learning, but a lot of potential. So I like the fact that he said that sometimes we have to, give him a hit on the head because it confirms everything that we've been saying during the whole season. So that's for Nasi.
Okay, and for the players, anything?
Yeah, listen, there was Georgie, but there was so many journalists, and usually when I'm in a scrum, I like to be in the back and just tweet. But Georgie doesn't talk very loudly, so I wasn't able to hear him.
Okay,
no worries at all. But I have Ishmael Koné. That was it was very interesting interview. He said a few things. First of all, he said it was my first goal at Stade Saputo, and I hadn't realized that. So he's like, it was very nice for me. And he's like, you know what? Every time my mother comes to the stadium, I score and I win. So I'm gonna ask her to come a lot more often. So
yes, please.
That's very nice. And he also talked about his mother. So I think it was an emotional night for him because he said, when I was 15, I decided to go pro and to make soccer my living, my bread and butter. And he's like, my mother wasn't really convinced and was afraid for my future, was afraid of what I'm able to accomplish. And he's like, today it's going very well. I have interest from other clubs all around the world. And she's proud of me. And I'm saying that, and I have goosebumps. So it's really nice to see him talk about his mother. Then he talked about Georgie, saying, we have such a good relationship with Georgie, and Georgie's amazing in his vision and with his passes, and he knows how to find me, and that's how he was able to score that goal. And the rest was quite an answer on the national team, but the rest was kind of
normal
not
stuff.
Really interesting still.
Fair enough.
In my opinion.
Okay. Well, we trust you. All right. So we do have 2 questions that came in from Twitter this week. So do we want to start with Robbie's question?
Sure.
Yeah.
All right.
Nice.
So, Robbie, for our listeners, we have, you'll probably discuss it during the podcast, but how did you see the performance of the team last night, and was anything of concern to you guys? So I know we talked about a few things, like Sam, you mentioned, of course, the one striker formation, is something that you're not super thrilled about. And, we talked about a little bit about, how maybe Waterman and Johnston might have been lacking a little bit in communication, but anything else to add on for Robbie's question?
No, I like the performance. It was a playoff performance. It was a tough game in Montreal. You knew that the opposition would have their moments, and I like the way they weathered these moments, and especially I liked how Montreal managed the clock, managed the ball at the end of the game. I think that's something that we don't talk enough of, is that Orlando barely had a chance once and they brought on Akindele, they brought on Benji Michel, who's so quick, and Benji Michel didn't even have the chance to get on the ball and try to use that pace. So there's nothing really concerning more than what we already talked about. And I like the performance because it was never going to be easy, but we were able to thrive through through the flames that Orlando were throwing at us. So it was good.
Awesome. Hady?
No, I think I talked a lot about. No, I wasn't really concerned. Don't forget, guys, that it's for a lot of these players, it's the first playoff game. So having bad first half is kind of normal. But I still think that we were the better team. So no, I'm not really concerned. So yeah, no, not really concerned. I think that the next game is going to be a lot tougher. So you need to make sure that you don't have those lapses in concentration at first, and need to be focused from the first minute on. Montreal during the whole season has shown that they're great at starting games. So they need to show that and to transport that into their playoff games. So if we're able to start well in the next game,
Mhm.
I think no concerns to be had.
Oh my God, you strike the fear of God into me every time, Hady. Oh my, you're gonna give me a heart attack.
Uh,
All right, let's move on to G Sharp's question.
Yeah, so G Sharp's question. There it is.
So G Sharp hits us with, after last night's antics, booing the American anthem, not to mention another bad anthem singer, should CF Montreal abandon singing national anthems altogether? One doesn't have to like a certain anthem, but should at least, at the very least, show some respect, not to mention restraint. So I'll first off, I'll say, like, I don't think there should be anthems in MLS. I think it's silly. I know all the American leagues have anthems, so I get why they're there because the other leagues have them. But I'm not a fan of anthems at league matches, particularly a sport as international as soccer. But that being said, I also don't think that it's appropriate to boo an anthem when it's being sung.
yeah, no, for sure. But maybe it's where I was sitting, but it honestly the boost sounded like maybe three people.
Yeah, exactly.
I actually didn't hear anything.
Yeah, no, I kind of heard something now. It's like I had to ask myself, is that booze or just like
Noise, like kind of,
noise? Yeah.
yeah.
But when I like kind of figured out that it was booze, it honestly sounded like 3 to 5 people.
Yeah, I
35
agree.
loud people, I guess.
Yeah, with good
Yeah.
voices, but
Mm.
Yeah, I
but
agree that
yeah,
it wasn't that there wasn't a lot of people booing. So
Mhm.
yeah, it's always unfortunate. I can understand, people getting frustrated
Well, I think it's
because of
just
that.
emotional. Like, you really want to be like, this is a hostile stadium,
yeah,
you're really not
exactly.
welcome here and stuff, but like, that's not the best way to express it, in my opinion.
But what it brings us to, it's interesting what you said, Eve, because you said, we think we don't need an anthem before each game. I kind of agree with you. And if you look, let's say you take example in England, they'll play the national anthem before the final of the FA Cup.
Hmm.
That's it. During the season, no
But
anthem.
that's like their English football federation, like, their English football
Yeah,
association. It would be like playing the Canadian anthem at the Canadian Championship final, I
uh,
guess.
it's more of, if you're gonna use it for an occasion. When you're playing
Hmm.
a Wednesday game mid-season, well, you don't need that. I think it's overdue. I think it's time to move on from that. You can still use them, but in specific occasions.
Hmm.
And now for the performance of the singer, it's funny because yesterday I went to the stadium with one of my friends who's a musician, and he explained me that it's really tough for singers to gauge their pitch and their voice in stadiums because of the how the sound echoes. So because we were kind of like eh, cringing a bit because sometimes it sounded a bit
Hmm.
a bit weird, but he was like, yeah, but it's not easy and stuff. So I said, okay, anyways, I can't sing for to save my life, so I
Yeah, yeah,
can't
yeah. No,
criticize anyone, but that's the point he made, so it was interesting.
no, no.
Yeah.
That's a good point.
I just want to add something else also. I don't think it's CF Montreal's decision to sing or not sing the
No,
national
it isn't.
No,
anthem.
No, it
So,
isn't.
even if they don't want to sing it, like it is a league policy, I think. So
Yeah.
it's not for Montreal to decide. It's mostly for MLS to decide if they want to continue
Hmm.
this
Hmm.
way of this way
Yep.
of dealing with the league games or not. So
Yep.
for me, it's a non, like like Montreal can't do anything about it.
No, no, exactly. But we can still have opinions about it.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. No, but good point. All right. So are we ready to move on to the preview of, as I wrote it in my program, mystery opponent at the time? Um, so we learned a few minutes into our starting of our recording tonight that on Sunday afternoon, Montreal is going to be facing off against the third place team in leagues or in the conference standings, New York City FC, who beat Inter Miami 3-0 tonight at City Field in the greater New York area. Guys, I don't know about you, but I really would have rather had Miami.
Oh, I don't know. Look, Montreal are going for the cup, right? So you can't start choosing. I think you bring whatever is in front of you and you go beat them. I watched part of the game. I didn't watch it in a full, but
Mhm.
man, there was nothing too impressive. You were looking at two teams that I think we can beat for real.
Okay. They're the defending MLS Cup champs, you know.
Well, they didn't play like that year for sure, you know.
No, no, they did go through a really rough patch like in the second half of the season, and then they kind of pulled up their socks really just in time to kind of get a little bit of momentum going into the playoffs for sure. Hady, though, I know that you were working, so you likely didn't have time to catch the game. I might be wrong, but overall, how is your feeling about having New York City as the opponent?
Listen, New York City scares me a bit because yes, they had a series of games where they were very very bad because they lost Tati Castellanos, but I think they found their groove again in the last few games of the season. And
Mm-hmm.
the game today, I watched a bit of it, maybe about 20-25 minutes of it, and they were looking very good.
Mm-hmm.
They created a lot of chances, winning 3-0 against Inter Miami. We all know that Inter Miami was on a high, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Before their loss against Montreal. So it
Mm-hmm.
scares me a bit. It's still the MLS champions, a lot of veterans, very good players, Maxime Chanot, Maxime Morales, and we're
Anton
not going to talk about
Tinnerholm. Yeah, I'm
Anton
sorry.
Home,
I missed that
Heber,
one.
Sean
Yeah.
Johnson. We can talk about a few
Yeah.
players that are playing there. But yeah, it scares me a bit. Now, I think I still think that Montreal is the better team. So
Mhm.
we'll see.
Yeah, we'll see. I mean, Montreal went to Yankee Stadium, and I take any result at Yankee Stadium with a grain of salt because it's not really a soccer pitch. But nonetheless, they went there and they got spanked early in the season.
Yeah.
Yeah, and deservedly so. It was not a good performance from Montreal at all.
No.
Um, And then, of course, New York City came and it was a 0-0 draw. But obviously, there were like kind of extenuating circumstances even around that match as well, because that was the match just after Jason DiTullio had passed away. So it was a really emotional night for the team. So it's been like this is kind of I don't know like I'm struggling kind of to gauge I guess how I can expect this match because the circumstances around both the
Hmm.
previous matches
Yeah.
um, are a little bit wonky, a little bit odd. It's not like a conventional, like it's not like, yeah, I don't know. I don't know what to think honestly going into this one. I'm struggling a lot with it. Yeah. Um, but
I,
anyway, go ahead.
yeah, that New York game. I remember Montreal played that super super high press, and
Mm-hmm.
I don't remember them playing that high of a press and that. So Wilfred Nancy definitely saw something in New York City's game that's different to how he usually prepares. So I'm just curious to see if he's gonna go for that tactic again, because I think Montreal looked good in that game. We weren't able to score, but New York didn't have much chances, and them who are usually so clean in possession were really struggling to string a few passes
Mm-hmm.
um, against us. So I'm just curious to see how Wilfred Nuss is going to prepare the team, because it was an unconventional way that we attacked that game against New York, because that we're not Red Bull either with that high press with 7 players committed, but it kind of looked like that
Mm-hmm.
in that game. So I'm
Yeah.
curious to know what he sees in New York that warrants that type of tactics.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, and that's the thing because half of New York's matches, they're played on such a small field that I
Hmm.
feel like it's hard to discern really.
Yeah.
But nonetheless, I know how do you listed off several veterans who definitely do have a lot of MLS experience, a lot of playoff experience as well. One thing that Montreal may have working in their favor is that the young star Talis Magno was not fit to play tonight. Of course, we don't know yet if he'll be fit for Sunday. He may or may not be. So that'll definitely be something though to keep an eye on. I think for any folks like keeping an eye on that stuff.
Yeah, Santi Rodriguez were pretty good.
He was all right. He was all right tonight. He was okay. I'm kidding. Yeah, I'm kidding. No. But nonetheless, we gotta take our crumbs where we can get them. But we did get a question on Twitter about the upcoming match from one of our listeners from Tate. So if Kyoto is healthy, does he get the start on Sunday over Koné? I think we know Sam's answer.
Yeah. Okay. I think he should. And I know that's not the popular answer but for me, I think we should go back to two strikers, and Koné can. You can use Koné as a sub, definitely, and knowing that Piet and Wanyama have kind of similar-ish profiles, Koné can definitely come and be a joker in that game. So I don't see any problem in starting Koné on the bench. If anything, this is the kind of game I see go 120 minutes, and this is where Koné can be such a joker. Is that if you have to play that 30-minute extra time, and he comes in with his lively type of play, I think it's better off the bench in that game. But that's me.
Yeah, and I think we need a Piet Wanyama midfield. We need it. So even if people are saying, you know what, you play with two strikers, but you remove Piet, you put him on the bench.
No, they have so many cannons. They have so many cannons on that NYCFC team.
Exactly, and Maxi Morales playing deeper this year. Being older. Playing deeper, you need that number 6 that's going to be able to press him, to not give him any space. Either Wanyama or Piet could play that role, and so we need those two defensive midfielders. We need two strikers. So for me, there's no question that Koné would be benched. Now, are we gonna see, because you can't bench Mihailovic, so there's no place for Koné in that.
No, I know it's terrible, isn't it?
In that starting 11, is it? I think it's amazing that we have so many good players that are able to, it's kind of.
It's terrible because it's not like he just did anything to deserve being dropped to the bench.
But that's the thing, is that I think people kind of associate bench to almost a punishment, but that's not the case. Not in the way Nasi uses it. It's just different roles, different scenarios, different opportunities for players. And if you look at it that way, it's completely. I think we have that old mentality that if you're sitting on the bench, you must have done something wrong. When we were young, we would miss a pass, we would sit on the bench. These times are over. So now it's so different coaching these days. And there's no.
A soccer team is 20 players. It's not 11 anymore. You need those 20 players to be. If let's say, okay, I'm not gonna just. Let's go fiction. Let's try to imagine that we win the MLS Cup. Okay, try to imagine. Okay, if we win the MLS Cup, would you not think that Gabriel Corbo deserves a bit of that cup? Would you not think that Koné deserves a bit of that cup? But Piet also, Torres also, because at the beginning of the year he was very important.
Zachary Braillard, who lived
on
the bench a lot of the year.
Mathieu Chouanière, all those players are very important to the team altogether. So in a way, you have a 20-player team, and it's not a 11, 12, 13, 14-player team. It is a 20-player team. So being on the bench is not a problem at all.
Yeah, exactly. And I think I would say if Romel Kyoto is fit to start and go at least 60 minutes, then yes, I would start him.
I don't understand Roberto's comments. Can someone explain it to me?
I'm not 100% sure.
What do you mean, Roberto, man?
I don't know.
I was gonna say, did you mention being old? I don't recall.
No, I didn't.
No,
I didn't mention being old. Do you think I'm old, Eve?
You're only as old as you feel, Hady.
Oh, that's a good answer.
So I'm 16.
There you go. Exactly. Alrighty, guys. Let's wrap it up to talk about our preview. So let's, as always, Montreal will win, Montreal will lose. And Sam, you're back, so let's start with you.
Okay, Montreal will win if they play with two up front. I know I've been hammering on that all night, but listen, you'll have less chances, I think, against New York because you're gonna defend more. So and you know
Mm-hmm.
that the best way that you can. Uh,
Oh, Sam.
oh yeah. Okay, Robbie.
So
I'm
Roberto
feeling young,
said
man.
when because Sam said when we were young, and I was like, okay, now we understand your comment.
I should have said when we were playing because yeah, no, okay. What I mean is I think NYC what they do well is that they kind of defend with the ball. They try to keep the ball. You won't have as many chances as against Orlando. So when you're gonna get in these dangerous opportunity areas of the pitch, you need to have two players in the box. And Chano, Cayennes are not the same defenders as what we faced yesterday. So you need to put different looks on them, and yeah. So that for me, you're gonna win if you got you play the two striker system. And I think we're gonna lose if Piet and Mihailovic are asked to play a bit too wide. Like Nasi likes to,
Mm-hmm.
to go a bit wild with Piet and Mihailovic and almost use them as wingers sometimes. And Victor Wanyama having the whole center of the pitch to cover. I'm not sure that's the way to go against New York City, who are very good through the middle of the pitch. So hopefully Piet and Mihailovic tuck in a bit closer to Wanyama to defend. So that's if we don't do that, I think we're gonna lose.
Interesting. Alrighty. Hady.
I hate this question.
I know.
You always do it.
No, because it's always the same. Like for me, I feel that I'm repeating myself every time. So I try to be original, and I'm not able to. No, I think Montreal will win if we have a very good Kai Kamara. I think Kai Kamara will be the X factor in
Yeah,
that
no.
game.
Mm-hmm.
Because we all know what Kyoto is able to do, but
Yeah.
Kai brings that extra body in the box.
Mm-hmm.
Being the tall player, that very very
Mm-hmm.
alive player, very lively player. Sorry, and we need that sort of madness up front
Mm-hmm.
in a way. So it's funny when you talk about Kai Kamara and madness together. He's the oldest guy in the squad.
Mm-hmm.
He's like he's crazy in a good way.
Yeah.
So that's for me the X factor, Kai Kamara,
Mm-hmm.
and I think we'll lose if the two wingers forget to defend, because
Mm-hmm.
the two wing backs
Yeah.
forget to defend, and because New York City FC knows how to play very well defensively, knows how to play on the counter, have very experienced players, and we talked about it a bit earlier,
Mm-hmm.
and they're going to exploit those wings. I'm pretty sure they're not going to play centrally against Montreal. They're
It
going
would
to play
surprise
on the
me.
wings.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think that's going to be the tipping point for that game.
Right on. Well, I will throw my hat in, and I'm going to say Montreal will win if they score early, because I think that'll set a good tone.
Yeah.
So do everything to get out on that front foot and score early. And Montreal will lose. Montreal will lose. I mean, New York City has the most clean sheets in the league. This year, I believe they have 14 clean sheets. But
John Johnston.
don't quote me on that number. So I mean, it's hard to, even though they were in a terrible run of form, penetrate. It's hard to penetrate the net, really. So I'm going to say Montreal will lose if they are. I mean, it's going to sound like basically the just the opposite of what I was saying. Like their finishing was in the 0-0 match. Like their finishing really wasn't clinical that night. They had their fair share of chances, and a couple of them were really heroic stops by Sean Johnson, but some of it was Montreal's poor finishing. So I think I would say if Montreal can't finish clinically and can't finish early, then Montreal will lose, because they're not going to get a ton of chances for sure. All right. Hopefully. We'll see. All right. Moving along. We got the shortlist of the MLS awards candidates for this week, and we have 2 Montrealers nominated for 3 different awards. So first up, we have, speaking of people who are probably as old as they feel, and I think Kai Kamara is younger than all 3 of us. He is nominated for 2 awards: Comeback Player of the Year and Humanitarian of the Year. So, Sam, did you see this coming when we signed Kai Kamara for $94,000 back in February?
Oh, listen, no, I thought he would be like a last-ditch player, like in the last 5 minutes of the game if you need a headed goal or something. I really couldn't imagine at his age giving the play he's giving and the leadership he's giving, that we knew, but the quality of his play is remarkable at his age, and every accolade he's gonna get is fantastic. And now for humanitarian, we know his foundation, heart-shaped hands. He's doing a lot. Comeback player, I guess he's nominated because he kind of fell off the radar of MLS, went to Finland, if I'm not mistaken, for 1 year, and comes back and has a banger of a season. So that's amazing, Is he gonna win it? I doubt it. I kind of think Ebobis is gonna win from
because it's usually like if you're coming back from injury or something to that effect, because it's mainly about quote unquote overcoming adversity.
Exactly.
And usually, obviously, in football, adversity is generally speaking a pretty catastrophic injury. And I remember when he had that injury. So I kind of do agree with you.
But just to be nominated is awesome. So congrats to Kai. He's been such a leader. I hope he's back next year. But his family situation, we don't know what it is. I don't think he's close to his family here in Montreal. So
no, they're in the States.
Yeah. Anyways, we'll see. But awesome for Kai.
Indeed. And Hady, we were vindicated after our little tirade last week, because Wilfred Nancy made the final cut. He is one of 3 finalists, along with Steve Cherundolo of LAFC and Jim Curtin of Philadelphia Union, for MLS Coach of the Year.
Is it a surprise to anybody?
No. Well, even the league, even, MLSsoccer.com, the folks who write for them, they've been banging on about Wilfred Nancy for Coach of the Year since the 10th week of the season.
Man, that would be the biggest mistake the MLS ever made if he's not named Coach of the Year. I think there's 2 mistakes. There's one big mistake that MLS has done in the past 5-6 years. It's not naming Stefan Fry as the best goalkeeper ever, even if Seattle was winning everything. So that's a big mistake, because he should have won at least 2 or 3 best goalkeeper of the year. And not naming Nancy would be the second one. So hopefully they learned. I know that all the MLS, as you said, the columnists and the analysts, the analysts are the podcasters and everybody said, I have been talking about Wilfred Nancy and Jim Curtin, of course. So it's going to be between those 2.
Yeah, I don't think Cherundolo is really considered, because look at the squad he has.
It kind of feels like a freebie.
Yeah.
But not really, because he won the Supporter Shield, so it's normal for him to be nominated.
I completely agree.
Well, what? If anything, I think Josh Wolf should have been considered more than Cherundolo, because he takes an expansion team to second place. They finished in the Western Conference,
and they won their first playoff series.
And they came back and won in penalties and the whole shebang.
I have to be careful not saying series anymore because it's not a series anymore. It's a game.
It's a
No, I
game.
know it's so
Yeah.
weird, isn't it?
Yeah.
I don't like it.
I'm not
I don't
used to
like
it.
it.
And I just need to answer Robbie. Have they already
Mhm.
voted? I don't think so
Uh,
because
I think they
usually I
haven't.
should be receiving an email to vote, but
Okay.
I haven't. So, or at least a way. I'm not really sure
Like a
because usually I
notification of
think
some
it's
kind.
no. I'm pretty sure it's the NASR SR that is a part of the
Okay.
vote, but I'm not.
Well,
I can't guarantee it that it is,
okay.
but I don't think they voted yet.
I was gonna say because I think I did see like some stuff floating around where like various pundits of the league were publishing their picks.
So maybe it's only
Yeah,
certain
so I was
pundits.
like,
Yeah,
oh no,
you're
don't
right.
tell me someone forgot Hady.
No.
Oh.
No, yeah, I just remembered. You're right. You're right. They only choose in the main broadcasters, so only the
Yeah.
basketball would get a vote. I think.
Yeah, I'm not sure like if other like journalistic out mainstream media, other mainstream media in
Yeah, maybe
Montreal would as well.
91.92 being the radio
Or
broadcasters.
690 perhaps as well because they're the English language one. And
Yeah,
like I mean
also.
TSN I'm
TSN.
sure for
Yeah,
example,
TSN.
but
Yeah.
anyway. Yeah, so I think voting has taken place already, and especially because we've seen some awards already given out, like for referee of the year and for assistant referee of the year. So I think it has already taken place. All right, but anyway, any other thoughts on that other than the fact? I mean, like Jim Curtin as a coach, I really do respect. Just to be
For
clear,
sure.
and I do think that realistically, Wilfred Nancy has kind of done less. Has done almost as much within 2 points of as much with a little bit less this year.
Well,
A
and
little
when
less.
and when Jim Curtin says that Wilfred Nancy should be coach of the year, it kind of says it all, eh? So
there you go.
And Jim Curtin, like the difference between last year and this year, there's not a lot of difference. He made exactly the same season, so I don't know, man. Like,
yeah, but
no, for me,
it's consistency though.
Yeah,
there is something to be said for remaining consistently top.
Yeah, I agree.
Without going out and signing $14 million.
But would you vote for consistency, or would you vote for someone that really took a non-playoff team to second place in the East?
No, I do agree with you. I'm just saying I can see why Jim Curtin has it.
For sure. And I think that also Kai Kamara will win MLS Comeback Player of the Year. So
really
interesting.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Nobody thought he would be that good.
No, I completely agree. I just think I don't know, like, because of the adversity factor, I understand like going to Finland probably, wasn't excellent, but he didn't like get super injured or anything or like have an illness. Or I feel really bad that you have to suffer to be the comeback player of the year. But it's just how it's been historically, right?
Yeah, exactly.
And I mean that's why they give it, because you overcome something.
Yeah.
Sure. And I guess you know what, getting the paperwork like to get in here and like get to work it is adversity in its own regard. Not to make light of any suffering that anyone has undergone, just to be clear, at all. But I'm just saying I think they will probably give it to somebody who kind of like, had something like that looked like a season ender or whatnot. Anyway, if we are ready to roll on.
Yeah.
Hady.
Yeah.
You ready?
I am.
With your segment, with your intro?
I'm always ready with my intro.
I can just imagine your little fingers been on the mouse like this forever, hasn't it?
Yeah, for an hour and 35 minutes.
Let's go.
Let's go.
Alrighty, so this obviously took place a week ago, so we won't break it down in quite as much detail as we did for the previous match, just because like I said, it was now a solid week ago. But anyway, let's talk about the match that took place last week, the second of Canada's 2 friendlies. This one took place against yet again another team that will be participating at the Women's World Cup, and that was Morocco. So if you give me 2 seconds here, I will pull up our starting lineup. And, Bev Priestman, she did mention that we were going to see a change in goalkeeper, and that we did. And I know we kind of debated as to who it would be, and it was Sabrina D'Angelo starting in net.
Yeah.
We had Janine Becky at left back, Kadisha Buchanan, because we didn't call up very many central defenders. Jade Rose entered.
Your favorite player.
I like Jade Rose a lot. I'm really excited by her, and so I was so excited to see her get the start for sure. And Bianca Saint-Georges continued as right fullback. Then we had Chloé Lacasse. Hady, when you and I talked last week, you said we needed Quinn or Desiree Scott. We got both.
Yeah.
Yep. Adriana Leon rounded it out on the right. And then we had Jessie Fleming and Evelyn Vienne with the start. So a little bit of a shakeup for sure, but still, a lot of faces who we have kind of become familiar with. Like even Jade Rose, I'm kind of familiar with her. It's just where she's so young, she doesn't really get to look in. So overall, Hady, what did you think of this lineup from Bev Priestman?
Interesting. I would have liked to see, as we said last week, maybe Larisi get a start or a Wujo get a start. But you know what? Not everybody can start games, right? So, Chloé Lacasse is someone that seems to be very, very important for Bev Priestman. So giving her minutes is kind of normal. And not having Simia Wujo is kind of surprising, but I think she wanted to give a bit more confidence again to Desiree Scott, because Desiree Scott is someone that's so important for the locker room too. So no, I understand. I wasn't really surprised about the starting 11. I would have liked a bit more, new guns having minutes, but no, not really surprised.
Yeah, kind of makes me wish we'd had a third friendly,
Yeah.
But
we do have other friendlies, right? Before.
Oh yeah. Yep. There's a window in November. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yep.
Exactly.
Yeah. I just want it now. Nonetheless, though, obviously, Canada was heavily the favorite in this match. It is no secret. Morocco is up and coming as far as women's football goes, even though they will be participating at the Women's World Cup in 2023. So it is still decent opposition for sure. And this one wound up being a 4-0 win. And guess who was heavily involved in 3 of the 4 goals? Once again, Hady.
Do I really need to guess?
No, you don't, because I'm going to list them all off for you. So the first goal was scored by Jessie Fleming, which was set up by none other than Evelyn Vienne. So Jessie Fleming received the ball from across the top of the 18-yard box from Evelyn Vienne, and she just had a really simple finish. She was alone in front of the goalkeeper for all intents and purposes, and of course a player of her quality was not going to miss. The second goal was scored by Evelyn Vienne herself after provoking the own goal last week. She was finally credited with a goal of herself. It came when a corner was taken by Canada, which was recycled by substitute Sophie Schmidt. And Sophie Schmidt put in a really excellent cross that Evelyn Vienne headed in. And that was finally her goal after being really active. The third goal of the day was scored by Janine Becky, and this one was once again a setup by Schmidt. And so Schmidt had actually come on for Quinn, who had gone off possibly with a knock at halftime, just for everyone's context, which we hope isn't too serious, of course. And Janine Becky, I don't know if her intention was to shoot as she did, because the ball kind of dinked off the post and went in. So for the third goal, Hady, just because I think the first two were pretty straightforward. For the third goal, do you think it was deliberate from Janine Becky?
No, I don't.
No?
No, I don't. But you know what? It's good.
A goal is a goal.
It's good for a player to have that to have that gift in a way, right? But I don't think it's not what she wanted to do. But you know what? It's a good thing.
Yeah, exactly. We're not going to turn our noses up at it for sure.
Exactly.
And the fourth and final goal of the day was scored by Clarissa Larisi, who did
I was so happy.
Right. So this was probably my favorite of all the goals that were scored, actually.
Yeah.
So the action started with a through ball from Evelyn Vienne.
Of course.
Oh my, oh my god. I was there. I was like, oh my god, Hady's going to be losing his mind. Yeah, but nonetheless, well, because I was like, I know if my hype train has left the station, then like Hady's is probably like 10 miles ahead already. But anyway, so Evelyn Vienne, she created the through ball for Clarissa Rossi to latch onto. After that, Larissy dribbled into the 18-yard box and she sprinted. Like she busted along. She pulled the lassie, you know,
Yeah.
she really did, to get on that ball. You know, the defenders were trying to close in, even though Morocco was pretty light at the back at the time. The goalkeeper did manage to get hands on Larissy's initial shot. However, she spilled it, and Larissy, you know, like a true striker, she stayed active. And when the ball became loose, she was able to bundle it home. And that was her first goal for Canada, and I think she will remember it for some time to come, because it ended like kind of with her flat on her stomach, but nonetheless the ball was in the net, and that's what counts. So Hady, after these two performances against Argentina and Morocco, and you know we can maybe focus more on Morocco as well. Overall, who do you think has cemented a place for the next round of friendlies in November, other than the usual starters, of course?
Are you surprised if I say Evelyn Vienne? I don't think
I would be surprised if you didn't.
No, of course, Evelyn Vienne. Pretty sure she's you know, the last time that she wasn't called up, and the reason that Friesman gave was that she didn't seize her chance with the national team. Pretty sure now she realized that maybe was it maybe beneficial for Evelyn Vienne to not be called up, and you know,
it gave her
make her angry and give her a reason of even improving and being better, possibly, right? But you know, Evelyn Vienne is 25 still, right? She has about 10 to 15 years to play still. So, and right now, I think she's proving herself to be a very important player of that team. Is she going to be a starter? Maybe at one point. Yeah. Maybe at one point, you know, if Christine Sinclair was injured and not called up this time. So, but you don't have a clear number 9 in that team. You don't have a real number 9 in that team. You know, a lot of people think about Jordan Heidema being a real number 9, and I'm sorry, but she's not. She doesn't have the same profile as Evelyn Vienne. Evelyn Vienne, all she wants to do is to put the ball at the back of the net or be decisive in a way. And she played through balls during that game. You talked about this, so I'm not going to rave on about Evelyn Vienne only.
We may have to make our own episode.
Yeah, exactly. But you know what? One day we should have her on the show. So
that would be too cool.
Hopefully we'll be able to do that. The other player that I think brings an extra dimension to that team is Clarissa Rossi. I think she's, you know, with the Deanne Rose being sidelined, I think
for a long time.
Yeah. I think that Larissy is the clear replacement of Deanne Rose. She's not as physical in a way, but she can be. She's very fast, and that's what Deanne Rose was able to bring. Beth Friesman, and even beforehand, Kenneth Heiner-Morner liked to have, you know, those very pacey forwards with Nichelle Prince and Deanne Rose. Now you have Nichelle Prince and Clarissa Rossi, which is a good mix to have. So yeah, I think that she's the one that also impressed me. Now I think it's going to be played. It's going to be between Chloe Lacasse and Clarissa Rossi for that.
Yeah.
That spot, because you know when Christine Sinclair is going to be back,
exactly,
she's going to be here. So that's it.
What about Sonia Wujo? You got to mention her.
You know what? The fact that she played in the second game, but also was a substitute. I don't know if she's still. I don't know. She's 19 only, right? So just turned 19 like 3 weeks ago. So I think she's maybe the one that will replace Desiree Scott in the next cycle. I don't think that Beth Friesman is prepared to not call Desiree Scott or
I
even Sophie
agree.
Smith.
Mm-hmm.
I've been very critical about I criticized a lot Sophie Schmidt in the
Mm-hmm.
previous episodes, but she's impressing lately. She's so good that I don't think she's not going to be called up. She's being so good. So yeah, no, I don't think that Simea Woodrow has
fully made it yet.
has fully made it yet.
No,
And in
that's
the
fair.
back, in the back, the only player that I think have proved that she's at that caliber is Bianca Saint Georges.
Mm-hmm.
I love that player, and even if she has to calm down a bit, but yeah, I think that's she's the only one. Shuri Eka maybe, but I think Bianca Saint Georges is a step
For
ahead.
me, Bianca Saint Georges, and like I think there is definitely a level of passion that is important to that, and I think she does bring like a certain swagger to her role, and I think you do need that. You do need that profile in your team.
Yeah, and Jade Riviere's injury.
Eggs is that's also a at least medium term injury for sure. So
Yeah.
yeah, no, I agree. But and Sam, I'll bring you in for this as well. There is going to be another window in November, another window. So Canada, they played against Australia, the future hosts, and they had the experience of traveling to Australia for that. And now they faced off against two teams that are lower ranked in FIFA, but allowed for a little bit more experimentation. So as we look ahead to the next window in November, what sort of opposition would you like to see the women take on during some friendlies during the next window? Not necessarily like specific countries, but just kind of like the gist.
No, I think we need to look at teams like we played in the Arnold Clark Cup. That's
Yeah.
That's exactly what I think what we need to see.
Tier 1 teams.
Yeah,
that's what I had written down. Well, you guys know, you saw the program, so you already know what I was thinking.
I didn't go that far on the program.
Yeah, me neither. That was like the last sentence in the program. I didn't have time to read it.
I didn't read up to that.
Well, even better than you read my mind, which is even better.
No, but yeah, just some good teams that that are gonna put Canada in trouble defensively, and that are gonna overload us and keep possession for a while and see how we stack up against them, because I think we need to go to that that extra step in these games, and it's good. You're gonna play against teams like Morocco. You're gonna get possession of the ball. You're gonna look good at some point, but you're not learning. For sure, you're oiling your system, absolutely, but you're not learning that much in these games. So now, if you're gonna play against Spain, against England, against these teams, now you're gonna suffer a bit more, and that's when you're able to learn a bit. And I think that's where Canada are at that moment. So I think we need to step up in that position. Yeah.
Agree. Yeah, very much agree. Anything else, Hady?
Yeah, I would name a couple of
things.
Go. I would love to see Canada play against the Netherlands.
That would be an interesting country.
I think for me, one of the best players out there is Miedema, the striker of the Netherlands that plays for Arsenal. She's so good, and I think just that team is one of for me, it's the favorite to win the World Cup with the US, of course. But I think I would like to see Canada play against the Netherlands, and the second country, I think again it should be a European team, but I would love to see Spain again, because I know we played against
Spain is like going through some stuff right now, though.
Yeah, true.
Yeah, true. So I think maybe.
Maybe it's not going to work. So Germany then.
Okay, yeah, Germany would be excellent.
Even if it's a new team in Germany, so it's not veteran, so young team. It can be interesting. We know we know the fact that Germany has had a lot of success in women's soccer in the past. So, playing a team that knows success, knows the game, is going to be very, I think, a very interesting experiment for this Canadian team. Composed of a lot of veteran players, but a lot of very young, a lot of youngsters too. So, I think that we need to go to those top tier opponents, and we need to show the world that Canada is still a force to be reckoned with.
Yeah. No, I very much agree with you. I agree absolutely with the both of you that tier 1 opposition and Hady, I certainly wouldn't turn my nose up at either of their countries, but I think I would probably leave Spain for now until they've overcome some of the difficulties that the women's team is having with the coaching staff and the FA.
Yeah,
and
true.
Yeah. Alrighty. So with that being said, I'm going to flip it your way, my distinguished colleague, for social media.
Yeah, okay, perfect. So let's do that. And of course, we'll have our segment introducing the social media. Won't be too long. So first tweet, of course, it's on the Canadian national team. It's from Can Watch Women's Sports. Reminder that 4 Canadians in the NWSL will be free agents for the 2023 season. Talking about free agents, Christine St. Clair, Sophie Schmidt, Alicia Chapman, and Desiree Scott will be free agents. Guys, what do we think about that? I know it's players that are 34 and over, but those 4 are legends. What do you think about that?
What do I think about that? Overall, I mean, oh God, it's hard to imagine.
Is it the end for one of these women?
Oh my God, I hope not. Not ready.
Sam?
Could it be for Sinclair?
I don't know, man. The fact that she's injured, right? But the fact that the Canadian national team, won the 2 games, and the fact that she's at the end of the contract, and I don't know, I have that funny feeling that it might be.
It's like everything's coming into place for for a retirement.
But I also feel that she wants to do something at a World Cup.
Yeah.
She wants to be here next year, but is she still able to perform at such a level? Because World Cup is a lot tougher than the Olympics.
Yeah, and Bev Priestman doesn't use her 90 minutes anymore. So now, how much can she give you at that level? I don't know. Man, it's hard to see sometimes because she's such a legend and had such a fantastic career, but it's difficult to see these players go out when they're really pushing their career to the limits. And I hope she doesn't do too much. I hope that when it's time, I think it is time, in fact.
Yeah. Oh my God, I can't imagine. I'm sorry.
Aside from St. Clair, if you think of Sophie Schmidt, Alicia Chapman, and Desiree Scott, which one of these girls can be the Kai Kamara of the NWSL?
A part of me is saying Sophie Schmidt because, like you said earlier, Hady, she has stepped up. She's done some really high quality football with Houston this season. Yeah, so for me, I want to say Sophie Schmidt.
Love it, because you know what? Very good transition to my second tweet from the NWSL. What a hit from Sophie Schmidt to tie it up. I have the video that's here, so I'll show it to you guys.
We're back into play, and France with a one-hand swipe. Shot taken, and Houston have tied it. Sophie Schmidt off the set piece. Big goal.
And what a strike for the equalizer that is from Sophie Schmidt. We talked about set pieces, getting yourself back into the game. Look at the delivery. It's 80 frames. It makes the initial save, just parries it on, but then Schmidt wide open on the far post. Another fantastic.
It looks easy. It's not an easy goal to put.
No.
And she looks so fit.
Yeah.
She looks like at the top of her form. And I haven't seen Sophie Schmidt so fit in a long time. And I feel that I think maybe during the Olympics, the fact that she was a reserve a player, in a way, push her to really overcome, her limits in a way. And she's becoming a more complete player. Like, she's always been a great player, of course, but I think she's more complete than what we've seen of her in the last couple of years. So, love it. Anything to add on Sophie?
No,
Good.
I love it. I'm pleased to see it. Keep it up.
Next tweet, and that's from Gla with the Canadian flag and the Lebanese flag. Hey, man. This is not even biased, but what team in MLS has limbs, fan celebrations like this? Such a similar sound to European stadiums. Guys, would you go that far, saying that Stade Saputo had a European feel yesterday?
Oh my gosh.
No. It had a great feel for sure, but there were some moments that there was only the supporters sections that were vibing, and I'm in 125, so I'm as guilty as anyone. Just sitting and not really vibing, but the atmosphere was great for what we're used to at Stade Saputo. But I think if you compare to some atmospheres in South America, in Europe, I think we're not far from it. We'll get there, but wasn't quite there yet.
Yeah, no. Overall, I agree. I mean, there are some really intimate venues, that I know, at least in like in England. We can think of, for example, Bournemouth or Brentford as two stadiums kind of on a similar scale, size-wise. And in fact, the Bournemouth Stadium is even much smaller.
Yeah.
It was definitely wild, and it's probably not fair to compare like a Montreal stadium to an English stadium. We might be better off trying to compare it to like a French stadium or a German stadium or a Belgian stadium. I'm not sure. It was definitely vibing, but man, like, I still feel like Europe has it a little more on fire. And even then, I still think probably England is like the most relaxed, like the most low key of all the big European nations of football.
Of course, you were gonna talk about an English.
It's my frame of reference. I'm sorry.
So I agree with Strasbourg Steve that talks about being comparable to Stade Brest in Ligue 1. Very nice stadium, Francis Leblay. That's the name of the stadium, and it's really a nice stadium. It's not a big club, but it's always a very difficult stadium to go play at. So I see the similarity. So it's a good shout to Strasbourg Steve. So I agree with you guys. We're far from the European like big leagues, but we're pretty close to a mid-table League One team, a mid-table Belgium team, and that's, I think, a big step up compared to what we've seen in the last 5-6 years. So let's move on. So let's move forward in that direction for sure. Johnny Zaffron putting a picture of Joey Saputo with Gabriel Gervais. Seeing these two individuals so happy makes me happy also. Joey Saputo, who always believed in soccer in Montreal, and Gab, who turned this club around in such a short time. How important is it for those two to achieve that milestone, Eve?
Well, when we do our post-mortem, I'll do a spoiler, and I'm going to say Montreal's biggest signing of the year was Gabriel Gervais.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So, no, for me, that's just, it was good business by Joey to find him, and it's been really, really good business by Gervais to do what he's done this season to really turn things around, just with the feeling, overall. So for me, no, it's excellent.
Sam?
Yeah, it's always tough to criticize Joey for me because he's given us a lot. He's paid for all of this, the stadium, the club, and he's not been helped by much of any government instances or whatever. So he's taken weird decisions along the line for sure, but it's cool to see that now everything kind of fell in place and that the club is doing well on and off the pitch. So happy for him. You always knew he was very passionate about this club. So to see him that is good, because we always have that in the back of our minds. How long Joey's gonna want to cope with all the the money he's supposedly losing in Montreal and stuff, and the talks about moving and all of that. But I think it's reassuring for us fans too to see how he's feeling his own club here. So it's just positive. Yeah.
And now, last but not least, it's from Megan. Lost my soul trying to buy CF Montreal tickets, but we finally got 4. Guys, does it look like today we're already sold out?
Yeah.
Well, there appears to be some resellers who have definitely gotten their hands on a fair few tickets, which is so unfortunate. And for those people, I kind of think you're like a little bit of human crap. If I'm being completely honest, I'm sorry. And if that's really how you feed your family, I don't know what to say. But overall, the tickets sold super fast. My mom is going to be coming on Sunday, and so I got the email for season ticket holders, and I was like, man, I'm jumping on that right away. I'm not messing around.
Yeah.
No, I echo Eve's feelings. It's tough to have tickets these days, and but it's good for the club. But
it's amazing, man.
Yeah,
it's amazing. And being at Stade Saputo until the end, they're going to be able to increase the prices and make a bit of money. So, yes, not playing at Stade Olympique, a lot of people are like, oh, well, you know what? They're missing 40,000 people that could go and pay tickets and everything. Yeah, but you know what? You can, in 19,690 or whatever, 619. If you make the lowest ticket at $100, because if you move at the Eastern Conference Final, I think it's worth $80 or $90, even the cheapest ticket. Then I'm sorry, but you're making the money that you're not really making from going to Stade Olympique. Don't forget that you have to pay the Stade Olympique too. So yeah, and the atmosphere at Stade Saputo is 10 times better than Stade Olympique. So
yeah, that's for sure. Yeah.
So no, I think we're gonna be sold out until the end of the season. So that's gonna be amazing.
Yeah, for sure we'll be.
So yeah, so that's it for social media. I hope you guys had fun.
Yeah, it's good.
Yes. Alrighty, so now it's back to me to wrap it up. I'm so sorry. I'm so glad that I'm going
what are we waiting for now?
Look, okay, it's really late. It is way past my bedtime. So on that note, since it is clearly way past my bedtime, I will say thank you to everybody who stayed up late and listened with us. And of course, if you listened throughout the week, thank you to you as well. As always, if you have any thoughts, comments, questions, whatnot, feel free to hit us up throughout the week or live. And certainly look forward to chatting with all of you. I believe it will be next Sunday evening since the match is early, but as always, stay tuned and have a wonderful week. And let's go win that Eastern Conference semifinal.
See you guys.
Ciao.